types of equations a long time ago, and you know exactly what I would do. I don't know if you're going to do the same thing, and I don't really care, to be honest, because if you don't do what I ask you, you're just making your life more difficult. So now you know exactly what I was going to do first, or what I am going to do first.
Squared triangle.
Say it again.
Well, now you're gonna factor out the least or the greatest common factor, which might be times it all by 2.
Thank you very much. I will remove fractions in a blink. I don't care. No one can force me to solve an equation with fractions or decimal numbers. I can do whatever I want. And what I want is remove them ASAP. Trinomial, descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, special product. I always hope for a special product. Since this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square, I know exactly what I'm hoping for. What am I hoping for?
No.
Of course, I'm hoping for x plus 5.
Yeah. Oh, right.
But I have to find the middle term here, which is 2 times the first times the second. What is the middle term here?
10.
It is indeed 10x. If this one here is not 10x, I cannot use this. Ah, very nice. So x plus 5, everything squared, still gives 2 solutions because it's a quadratic polynomial. But it happens that they are both the same. And they are equal to that's it. So to answer your question, even a quadratic equation, which we know has to have 2 solutions, it does have 2 solutions, but in this case they are both the same. So it depends on the problem. Matt, you were asking about
the
solutions. Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so this is it. This is the end of Mod 6. There is nothing else I can teach you. We can only practice. So I'm going to open the assignments now. Where are my assignments? Here they are. Anything. Please, it is absolutely mandatory, especially if you take the test on Tuesday afternoon, of course, or Wednesday. It's mandatory to finish all the work by Monday night. Please, so we can continue reviewing. So now, is there anything from the old test that you would like to work on, or can we go to practice here, or what would you like to do? Okay, just let me know, and let's look at the preview. I think we started a little bit here, didn't we? Maybe not. I think we did. In practice 6.1, is there anything that we should go back to? Should we quickly go through all of them? So what would you like me to do?
Yes, please.
Okay. So here, the greatest common factor is always the one with the lowest exponent. So y to the 8th, y to the 6th, and y to the 9th. Of course, the greatest common factor is y to the 6th, because the first one has 8 y's, the second one has 6, and the last one has 9. Of course, what they have in common is the smallest, and that is greatest common factor. Stop me if you have questions. Okay, so find the greatest common factor of 24x and 9x to the third. 24x and 9x to the third. The variable part is easy. So the greatest common factor can only have power 1 for x, because I always have to choose the smallest. And 24 and 9, they only have 3 in common. So the greatest common factor of these two terms, I should say, is just 3x. Okay. Okay, again, in this example, it's easy for the variables. A to the 6th, b squared, c to the 7th, and 75, a to the 7th, b. The variables are easy. Why? Because I have to choose the smallest power. So in the greatest common factor, a will have power 6. For b squared and b is just b. C is not a common factor, so it cannot appear in the greatest common factor. Now the analysis is only about 45. So 5 times 9 is 45, and 5 times 15. So the greatest common factor is just 5a to the 6th times b.
Would that be 15?
Say it again. Oh, we have, so let me, yes, we also have 3 in common. Yes, it is 15. So let's look at 45. 45 has the prime factorization. That's even easier and better always. So let's look at 45. So 5 and 9, and then 3 and 3. And let's look at 75. 5 and 15, and then 5 and 3. That's why 15 is the greatest common factor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good. Okay, this is just a student does this and that. Okay, you can let me know if you need help with this next time, with what went wrong. Factor out the greatest common factor. So on 30x plus 10, 30x plus 10, 30x plus 10, the only thing that we can factor out, which is the greatest common factor, that would be, that's it. Please remember, if you start with 2 terms, you have to have 2 terms in parentheses. Otherwise, you will not be able to recover the left-hand side. So you cannot just say 10 and then put in here 3x. You have to put plus 1, because 10 times 3x is 30x, and 10 times 1 is 10. Students tend to just write 3x, but that's not possible. You start with 2 terms, you have to have 2 terms in parentheses. That's a must. Okay, what about x squared plus 9x? What would you factor out from this? That's it. And remember, you have to have 2 terms, so that x times x is x squared and x times 9 is 9x. Is this okay so far? We know.
Yes.
Okay. Factor out the greatest common factor from this polynomial. All we have to factor out is a 4. There is nothing else. You cannot factor out anything else. So let's write it this one. Let's write this one, plus 16x to the 5th minus 12x cubed and plus 20. 28x to the 6th plus 16x to the 5th minus 12x cubed plus 20. So the only thing is we can factor out 4. And remember, we have 4 terms. We have to end up with 4 terms in parentheses. So 7x to the 6th plus 4x to the 5th minus 3x cubed and plus 5. That's all we can do here. Good. The same thing. Okay, yeah, this is something they are preparing us for factoring by grouping. That's okay. So let's do this one. Let's work on this one. When you look at these two, at this piece, and at this piece, what factor screams back at us that has to be pulled out?
X plus 16.
Exactly. So once x plus 16 is out, now we have to have something left over from the first and something left over from the second. Yes, x minus 10. This is basically factoring by grouping. Good. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Okay. So
I need toys and all.
say it again. Sarah, you're not muted, so maybe you didn't want to talk to us. I'm not sure. Factor the following polynomial using the negative of the greatest common factor. So they didn't have to tell us. This is a binomial. It's in descending order. Yes. It has the greatest common factor. Yes, which is 8. But the leading coefficient is negative. So negative 8 is what we have to pull out. So negative 8 times something equals 24x squared, and negative 8 times something else equals positive 32.
3x squared.
3x squared minus 4. Very good. This is it. And we can no longer factor. 3x squared minus 4 is not factorable anymore. The difference of squares cannot be applied. The difference of cubes cannot be applied. This is not a perfect square. This is, but this is not. So that's it. We cannot do anything else to that. Good. Factor following polynomial using the negative of the greatest common factor. That's what would you factor out here? And if you want me to write it, please say yes.
Negative 5x to the base
Second, yes. That's it. So it's the same problem, but it's a trinomial. Okay, I want this one. So xy plus 2x plus 2y plus 4. When it comes to factoring by grouping, let me just say the following. I cannot conclude that this polynomial is not factorable before I try grouping these two, and let's say it doesn't work. I try grouping these two, and it doesn't work. And I try grouping these two, and then these two, and it doesn't work. Only when I exhausted all possible groupings and none works, then I'll say it's prime. So for now, I was given them like this. I'm just going to continue as they are. I'm not going to change anything. So it's polynomial. There is nothing I can do. It's just factoring by grouping. So I cannot do anything else. Good. So what will you factor out from the first two? And you will say x. And what is left in parentheses?
y plus 2.
Yes. Please remember, if there is no y plus 2 coming from the other two, I cannot conclude that the polynomial is prime. I have to regroup differently. But I have to write this first. If you don't write it, you may get confused and you may not find the correct sign and factor.
Plus 2.
Plus 2. Why? Because 2 times y is this and 2 times 2 is this. Now it becomes a piece of cake. What is the common factor? That's why I underlined it, so it makes it so much easier for you to identify the common factor, which is
Y plus 2.
y plus 2. Once these are gone, what is left?
X plus 2.
X plus 2. It always takes a blink to verify. X times y times 2, 2 times x, 2 times 2. Let's see if there is anything else interesting here. By grouping again, the same thing. By grouping again, the same thing. By grouping again, the same thing. Let me know if you want another grouping. I just want to be able to get to everything. But I will stop at any problem you want. The surface area of a cylindrical can whose radius is r inches and height is 13 inches is given by. Express the surface area in factored form. So we are given the surface area, and that is 2 pi r squared plus 26 pi r. They only want us to factor this completely. So let's do just that. 2 pi r squared plus 26 pi r. What do these two have in common? When it comes to the variable, it's always easy. You have to choose the lowest exponent. So yes, it is 2 pi and r. I started with 2 terms. I have to have 2 terms in parentheses. And those are?
R plus 13.
That's it. And this is it. Very good. Okay. Length of the rectangle. Okay. Let me know. These are the last few problems in 6.1. Let me know if we want to look at 26, 27, 28, 29, 26, 27, 28. 26, 27, 28. So let's choose one from 26, 27, 28, and move on. We don't want to choose?
Yes, could you do 27?
Perfect. So in 27, we have a rectangular figure that is x by 2x. And we have another rectangular figure that is x by 8. And they want us to find a polynomial expression that represents the area of the shaded region. Perfect. So they want us to present this. In other words, from the total area, so the shaded area, from the total area, length times width, which is 2x squared, we subtract x times 8, or 8x. And they want us to factor this. Well, what will you factor out from 2x squared minus 8x? (2x). And we have x minus 4. Always check. 2x times x, correct. 2x times negative 4, correct. And this is the polynomial that expresses the shaded area. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to 6.2. My goodness. Okay. Select the correct choices that complete the sentence below. When factoring this, look for two numbers whose product is. Can anyone give us the product on this?